So you've not submitted a tax return to HMRC? What are the penalties? Well, don't worry, they are not as harsh as you probably would think. Louise will go through those details in this video. Bob has asked the question, what are the tax submission implications? That's a good question, actually. We've never really covered this because we talked about tax returns being submitted, but let's talk about tax returns not being submitted on time. What happens?
Well, funny enough, there are HMRC love their penalties. There are 3 penalties that can occur if you don't do what you should do. The first penalty is a really odd one, and we've just gone past the deadline, funny enough, at which the penalty could be missed to do with the 2021 tax year. So that penalty relates to informing HMRC you need to do a tax return. If you're late in telling them about, for example, the 2021 tax return requirement that you have, and you didn't tell them you needed to do a 2021 tax return, then you can pick up a £100 fine for late telling, basically. And the deadline to which you have to tell HMRC after the end of a tax year that actually you need to file a tax return for that tax year is the 5th of October. So long as you've told HMRC I had self-employment income or I had property income in the 2021 tax year by literally, I think it was, gosh, I forgot what day it would have been, 8, 7, 6,
well,
5,
now
Tuesday last week. So the 5th of October, then you would have been absolutely fine, and they would have sent you a confirmation that you're going to get a UTR and you'll need to file. If you tell them after that time and date, they are at liberty to fine you £100. They might not, depending upon the reason that you told them late. And you can't say it's only because you listened to my video. Sadly, that's not going to cut any mustard. The second penalty is if you then file your return late. And as we all know and love, if you're filing a paper copy, did I tell you it's the 31st of October for filing?
Yeah.
I did, didn't I? Yeah. Okay. So if you don't file a paper copy by the 31st of October, the world is not over, but you do need to file electronically. And you have to file, or the majority of people do, by the 31st of January 2022 for a tax return that ended on the 5th of April 2021. If you don't file by that timescale, and assuming HMRC don't extend their allowances as they did only this time last year, then you've got a £100 penalty for filing late. That grows though. So if you haven't filed that tax return by the 1st of May 2022, get ready for this. You're going to pick up £10 a day penalties up until the end of July, at which point your fine for not filing on time has now grown to £1,000. And it will continue to grow, but every 3 months after that. And the amount it will grow by, we can talk on a different topic another day, but I just want to kind of bring that to life.
What about interest?
Well, I've not got there yet. Just one moment.
I'll just be obvious to another show.
Moment. And the third issue you face is if you haven't paid your tax on time, which of course needs to be by the 31st of January, then you're going to pick up penalties for that. Now, the penalties are twofold for that. The first is late payment interest, as Mr. Simon here alluded to. And that goes at what's called the official rate of interest from HMRC, which I think is about, is it 2% at the minute?
Well, isn't it normally 3%?
It's dropped down to 2.5%, I think, recently. But that's per annum. So for every £100 you file a year late, you're going to pick up the equivalent of £2.50 in interest, very broadly. If you haven't filed, and I think if my memory serves me right, it's 30 days after the filing deadline, which is the 31st of Jan. Once they know what the real tax is due, if you haven't yet filed the tax return, they're going to fine you approximately 5% of the tax not paid by that date if you still haven't paid it 30 days after the 31st of January. So there's all these different types of fines suddenly racking up and causing mayhem if you're not careful.
Mm-hmm. And equally, the amount of added cost, the stress, all of that adds up again. So it is about getting your tax return done. What's that date? I forgot.
Oh, have I not told you?
No.
31st of October if you're filing paper, 31st of January if you're filing electronically.
Right. I must remember those dates.
Here's the fun bit. That's per tax return. So if you are filing partnership returns alongside a self-assessment tax return, alongside a trust tax return, All of those fines basically are per tax return. So you're late in filing a trust, a personal and a partnership, then multiply it by 3, what I've just told you.
I think Bob's sitting there thinking, I only asked what the implications were. But Bob, hopefully that's a bit more of a thorough answer. There are many live events that you can register for free. There are 4 events that's showing HK to UK to help people move from Hong Kong to the UK. The Property Expert Panel. If you're a property investor and property developer, this will be very useful for you. Tax Q&A. If you want to ask proactive tax questions in regards to structures and how to mitigate tax in the future. And finally, UK tax return Q&A, as it says, to deal with questions in relation to your tax returns before you submit it to HMRC. Don't forget that these events are live and will be shown on YouTube the day after. So why not register today, start saving tax tomorrow.